Hey, good evening. This is another technical analysis video for our daily stock trading series. I'm your host, Eric Lewis, and today we're going to look at Energy Transfer LP. Today is November the 12th, 2019. So here's a look at the 1 year price chart. And you can see we've had aside from that early period of higher pricing, we had an uptrend at the start of the year. Really since April, we've been heading lower, lower. So until all the way today, where we are nearly $6, I guess $5, about $4.50 off the high of the year. Let's look at this moving average, and it's no surprise given the last 6 months of downtrend the that the moving averages are still all in line. You have, if you can't see it at the far right of the screen, you can always look to the top left for the actual numerical values. So the 10-day moving average is lower than the 20-day, which is lower than the 50. So all three moving averages are in line, which is an indication of continued price trend lower. Let's take a look at the 5 year. So here's what the 5 year looks like, and that gives us a little bit bigger picture, a bigger scope into this stock. So we see we were up, above 34, almost $35 a share back in May of 2015, and then just had a crushing fall to finish 2015 and start 2016 at the lows. And I mean, this candle here makes it look like we actually touched, and I'm not going to dig in right now, but looks like we actually touched $4 a share before popping back up in Energy Transfer. And it's, come up some, and just honestly, this is almost like one big channel, although, in all reality, we're talking about $20 down to $11.50. So we're not going to have a $10 channel in a stock that's only made it up to $35. But you can see it's just, even if you don't put this in a channel, you can sort of see a downward sloping trend here. Let's look at the moving averages, and of course, just as with the same example with the 1 year, when you look at the weekly data, and this is a weekly chart, you can see this W up here in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. But you see all three moving averages are in line with the 10-week moving average being lower than the 20-week, which is lower, of course, than the 50. And don't forget, when you look at this on the weekly data, this blue line is actually, it's a 50-week, which means it's almost a rolling year, an average price for the year, and we are still heading lower than that. So let's look at the Fibonacci as we always do. I do like Fibonacci analysis. It's amazing to me how often we hit these numbers, and then you see them sort of play a role with regards to ongoing support and resistance. So I'm not going to dig into some of the the smaller trend. I could use this one back in we'll call it August through December of 2018, and look at the rebound here back to this point before coming on off. I actually am more interested in this larger move. This was the big down move here, because that was the significant move in the stock, the most significant in this stock, and that's going from $34.95, so basically $35 all the way down here. And I did bring it on down to the $4 range for the low of this. Moving this around, using this low of $4 versus using a low that was the about $5.80, did change where this line was. So like right now, I've got the stock ultimately having retraced to a 50% point in 2017 and early 2017. If I were to use this, if I were to raise the low end of this analysis to this upper $5 portion, then it moved this region in 2017 to the 38.2%. So either way, we were going to get a significant number. It was either going to be half the move or roughly 38.2% of the move, both of which tend to be significant Fibonacci retracement levels. And what's interesting with this is that you see the 50% level in 2017, but then if you just follow this 38.2% line of $15.89, you see that it played a role as support here in late 2016, played support again in mid 2017, again in late 2017, and it seemed to actually offer a little bit of resistance here in 2019. So is it by chance? Is it by design? You know, the truth of it is none of these indicators truly predict the future. This is not a crystal ball. Our hope is to use numbers, to use the charts, to use the data that we have to give us a better insight of where this stock will go, where it's been and where it's going to go. So that is the relevance to me of Fibonacci. So we're going to move on to the MACD, and this is back to the 1 year. So these are not dollar. These are day candlesticks again, 1 day price point. That's relevant to me. You know, we have a cross below the zero line, but it appears that both down here in the bottom right hand corner, it appears that both the exponential averages are about to head lower. And so this, because we've been in this, you know, roughly 6 month plus trend lower, actually this is going to give false signals, less, but I still like to take a look at the MACD, mostly because it's part of the process, kind of get you in a rhythm, and you can decide if it's going to help. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But this is an interesting one, of course, and that's this downward move. And I flipped it. This is 1 week data, so this is a longer chart, and this is just a view of the downward trend that we've been in since 2017, right? I was able to fit this into a trending channel. I could have made the top of the channel lower. I actually could have. There are a lot of things you can do. So there's truly a lot of this technical analysis is art. It really is just a matter of figuring out what makes sense to you. If you look at this trend, it shows that the bottom would be a little bit closer to $10 a share. So that's a number to keep in mind for sure. And then I wanted to take a look at this as well, because we have a solid line between the low of 2018 and where we are right now. And given that we've had this sort of downward trend in the middle of these 2 points, oftentimes this to me looks like a triangle. Looks like a triangle that might be heading lower. And the biggest question is, how low will this go? You know, a lot of times I would say expect it to test the previous low, but that's $4 a share, and I'm not confident that the situation is the same. So when we reached that $4 a share last time, we were also in a significant slowdown in crude oil refining, because Saudi Arabia had decided to increase supply in crude oil, just as a way of gaining a little bit of ground against the U.S. shale revolution, the shale oil that was taking place. And what they successfully did was slow down production of shale, because the profit margin that was being made by the companies that were that were exploring and producing shale oil dropped to the point where, when you get to that $50 a barrel range, it's not only less profitable, but sometimes it can become
uneconomical to pull the crude oil out of the ground. I don't think we're in that same scenario today, even though you could say, well, here we are, 4 years later, and we still have seen some pretty low crude oil prices. The difference is that over time, technology improves so that that expensive oil becomes less expensive to pull out of the ground. And so, a lot of companies, a lot of exploration companies have not struggled the way they did back in 2015. So I'm not confident that this stock is about to get cut in half. It could, but it certainly is something to keep. The indication is saying yes. I just don't know how low. So overall, stock has been trailing lower for quite a while. Both moving averages, the 1 year, the averages on the 1 year chart and the averages on the 5 year chart are in line for heading lower, downward trend. So no surprise there, of course. The last big move was that downtrend in 2015, and we've reached the 50% retracement level of that, and we also saw the 38.2% retracement level play a little bit of support along the way. The MACD, I think, is a little bit less relevant with the long trend, downward trend, or even if it had been an uptrend. With the long trend, I think the MACD is more prone to give a false signal, so you kind of have to weigh it a little less on your scale of importance. And then I do like the visual trending that we were able to look at, the downward price channel, as well as the triangle pattern that appears to be popping up. So to me, both of those give me an idea that the stock is likely heading lower. How low, I don't know. I feel a little more comfortable saying, maybe another dollar, maybe down to $10 a share even. I am less comfortable saying, we're going to retest the lows, because the last low got so low. So that's it. If you are in this stock, this is not one that, you could certainly how easy it is to do that right now in the marketplace, but I bet there are some put strategies that might be worth it. I bet you there's some good some good strategies that can be used in call options right now too. So I always like selling